Hello and welcome to the Sometimes Relevant, Always Talking Gaming podcast. You're here with James Jick and Jack, even, and the mysterious Mr. Milk. Today we're going to talk about our gaming experience in 2015. Specifically, which games we like the most. Milky, would you like to start with your picks?
Well, it's a tough one, but yeah, I'll start with a few. Obviously, Football Manager always comes high in my ranking every year, but given that it's really a game which you sort of develop your own story in some kind of way, as you can start with a small club or a big club. I don't feel it's like something that I'd like to compare in this sort of scenario. My other picks would probably be Creed, Assassin's Creed that is, and Syndicate. Although I have quite a lot of concern about the game. I think it's not that detailed, but I think it does. I've always loved the Creed series, so I think any game that came out with Assassin's Creed on it, I'd probably enjoy it.
What do you mean, like it's not detailed?
It's in. I remember playing the Brotherhood and Revelations, and even stuff like it sounds funny, but you could feed chickens, right? Now that's just insane. That's amazing. And you can't really do that on this game.
Yeah, but
the map is so much better.
So by detail, sorry James to interrupt you. You mean that in terms of like the amount of gameplay features you have, like feeding chickens, you don't mean in terms of like map? Because I thought when I beat Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and I thought the map was incredibly detailed. So what exactly?
Yeah, I mean in terms of its design, I mean it always had to. It's in London, so it always was gonna have. They were always gonna focus most of their efforts on the design, because London's can be a beautiful city. And
back then it wasn't.
yeah. They can focus. I mean, you've got all the traditional hotspots in London in the game. It's like Westminster.
Trafalgar Square looks great in it.
Square, and yeah, and they've like really designed it well, but I don't think that the interface of the game. So what you see when you're climbing up buildings, and you see all these beautiful old historic buildings. That's wonderful, and like when you're just on the Thames and you see all like the old boats and stuff. It's beautiful. It really is. But in terms of the detail, where I don't know. I haven't finished the game yet, so I don't want any spoilers. But I don't think the storyline's that great as far. And in terms of like when you play something like I don't want to bring up too much, but when you play something like Fallout, no matter what you're doing in the game, it can hold its own. So like you can literally just go for a walk, and you'll find like loads of different stuff. I feel that Creed fails on that aspect. It's very.
Can I butt in a little bit? Like,
yeah.
It's on the Creed. I've got to sequence. I've done sequence 4. That's as far as I've got up to with Creed, and I agree with some. The map is beautiful. Do you think though the problem with the gameplay is because literally every year they've just churned the same gameplay but with a different map they made look a bit nice?
Yeah, I mean, as I feel, and I don't know how many Creed followers feel the same, but I feel that that's my dog's, by the way, and my dad's just come back from work. I feel that I feel that Creed tends to use a sort of gimmicky approach. They'll do London, and they did. I mean Italy was one, and Paris and stuff. Unity was literally just let's just go to Paris. You can climb the Eiffel Tower.
I'm the only person.
That is literally their approach, and they've done the same, and they'll keep doing the same. Like with Black Flag, I found that even worse, because whilst I actually enjoyed the game itself, it felt to me whilst I was playing it like they just made the game because you can be a pirate, or like you can just go on a boat and just go and sail. That is literally why they did it, and I think that's
If I can interrupt there as well, James, sorry. Like I think, well, personally, like Black Flag was my favourite Assassin's Creed, but I think that game was almost too big. I mean, the story was underwhelming to say the least. Because I think there was just that there was so much to do in that game that I mean, out of the most like Ubisoft games in general, including like things like Far Cry, like I love to do the collectathons. You know, you go through the map, you collect everything, you find like the Animus stuff, bullshit, the feathers, and then I get bored by the time before the game's finished. Like, but in this time, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I actually finished the story despite the fact I was doing loads of the other stuff. But I think, yeah, well, that's my main point on it. James,
Yeah,
you carry on.
I mean, I disagree with you on your favourite Assassin's Creed because actually, I know I haven't finished it ever, but my worst experience with Assassin's Creed was probably Black Flag.
Hmm.
But I just didn't really like the amount of sailing that was in it. For one thing, I found it tedious. But the concept of being a pirate initially, when I looked at it, maybe if I bought it when it straight away came out, sounded
Yeah,
quite.
so what point I was actually trying to make was because Black Flag was so big that you could sail everywhere. Like focusing on just one location, like London,
Yeah.
was actually I think a good choice in this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm the only person who's had a good experience with Assassin's Creed Unity. I'm the only person who went that game came out of it and thought I enjoyed that.
Just to clarify, the only person in the world.
Yeah, I am the only person in the world. I'm willing to take that. I'm the only person in the world who enjoyed Assassin's Creed Unity.
I just think that Unity. I mean, I think it was again like the London game, designed very well. I mean, it was like the sort of seeing parts of Paris was beautiful. I mean,
Assassin's
they
Creed
designed
games,
it similar to London,
It is
except
the same
except
game. but
they failed to actually solve any of the basic issues for me. And I know, James, you've got a different viewpoint of this, but I felt like Unity was the worst sort of climbing experience of a game I've ever had. And I feel that even on this, it's improved a little bit, but they still have issues. And it feels like the game has actually regressed, because I never had those issues like in Brotherhood and Revelations.
well,
But
I mean, though they were present, Milky, I assure you, in those games they definitely were.
Yeah.
I mean, like, but mainly
I
I've noticed with terms of like climbing glitches on Assassin's Creed Syndicate with the new rope launcher, when you like launch to a new building, if your character doesn't like grasp onto the building right, you get like caught on a diagonal. And he doesn't move properly, and it slows you down a bit, especially when you're like chasing people across rooftops.
Or you're being chased yourself when they
Yeah.
introduce guns. My other thing with Assassin's Creed is literally that, to me, I mean, I've enjoyed Syndicate more since I started Sequence 4 and got back into it. But for me, Syndicate feels like it is Assassin's Creed Unity, but after they got rid of the glitches and with a slightly different map. And so that's why I'm glad that they're rumouring they're taking a break.
Yeah. I
mean,
let's not go on to that too much, but I mean, like, as the only one person who's actually completed the story, I can tell you it does get quite a bit better.
does it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
But remember, this podcast is actually about the games you
It's
enjoyed the
about
most.
get best games of this. So
yeah, not just an Assassin's Creed complaining.
So, what's your next pick?
do you have a next pick? Yeah.
Am I supposed to? Yeah. Okay. Well, Fallout. Fallout is one of my picks. And I feel that was a very good game. I felt that it had a lot of detail throughout, and whilst I haven't completed it, that's down to my own personal crappiness. It's more down to, I think that on any given day I could just play Fallout without having to do the story mode or having to do this or that. You know, you can take materials and build houses and stuff. It really involves a lot of this sort of actions I'd expect you to do if you were sort of surviving in a sort of post-apocalyptic world situation. And so yeah.
I think we'll probably end up coming back to Fallout, to be honest, as well, a few times. Is there any other
Do
picks?
you want to talk about it now, James?
Go on to it.
Should we just talk about Fallout now?
Well, should we go through Fallout and then we'll see what happens with Fallout later on?
Okay. All right. So yeah. So I think yeah, and I think even when you start the game and you're like in your little house, you've got your wife who's hot.
You can change what she looks like to make her ugly, I assure you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, mine was hot, so I don't know what yours was like, James.
Mine looked like Jeremy Corbyn as a woman.
Oh well, unlucky. That's just clearly the difference between me and you.
And I looked like David
I'm
Cameron.
hot these last.
Quite nice.
My character did look slightly like a bit of a bulkier Fernando Torres, so like me. And yeah, it was a yeah, and just the creation of like when you like create faces at the start, and and like these sort of open scenes where you get taken down into the bunker, whatever it's called, and, where you see your wife being shot. If anyone's played this game and I've just ruined it for anyone, I'm sorry. But yeah.
Don't worry, no one's listening to this anyway.
Eventually, Jack, someone will come back to this and think their games of the year were dreadful. I just
Yeah.
I mean, James to take over? Do you want to?
Yeah.
Well, I'll go first, James, if you don't want to.
Yeah, you go first.
Right. So, well, basically, like my main Fallout was obviously great, and it was they surprised us with the release. I was so excited for it. Me and James were waiting in all day. Luckily, we had the day off from work. I remember us waiting in, so excited to get the game. James at least, because I got it several hours before him, so I rubbed it in his face. Then, so I was playing, and I loved it. I must have put on the save thing, it comes up with your playtime, so I must put 80 hours into it. I got near the end, but then I got bored and I didn't complete it.
So are you going back to it?
No, probably not. But I mean, I did everything but the last 2 story missions. Now, if you don't know, there are three main endings I think for Fallout, but I've read what each all of them are, and the reason I stopped as well is because I knew I was going for the ending that I didn't particularly want. So I was like, I didn't want to continue because I didn't want to see that ending. But it's obviously there's everything, there's loads in it. I think the only main thing you can level at it is that the graphics are not good. I mean, they're reasonable, but I mean for next gen, they're not good.
Yeah,
they literally looks like a PS3 game.
Yeah, Jack, you've played The Witcher. I know it might come up in a minute.
It will.
The Witcher's apparently beautiful. How much more beautiful is The Witcher to Fallout?
I'd say at least 1.5 times. Yeah, James, you listen to Kinda Funny like I do. I mean, I trust Colin's opinion more than mine. But I mean, games like The Witcher, even though I don't want to talk about it too much now because we're gonna get onto it in a minute. But it's as big as Fallout, if not bigger, and it's almost twice as pretty. I mean, that is a more ambitious game.
We don't know what the Fallout DLC is going to do at the moment.
Well, no, it'll be the same as the Fallout 3 DLC. It's not going to improve the graphics. There'll just be new story.
No, it's not going to improve the graphics, but I meant The Witcher's has apparently added basically a whole new game.
Well, yeah, but that's another thing with The Witcher though, because I mean, they've taken all the fan feedback and they've, if you've got The Witcher, James, I don't know if you have.
I've got The Witcher. I haven't played it yet.
But yeah, don't do any updates because I mean there must be 20, 25 gigabytes of just pure updates of updated gameplay, and then that's not even on top of the additions to the expansions, and they're 20 hours each. They had 20 hours of gameplay on each.
So you're saying the studio do a pretty good job in listening and improving that game on a consistent basis?
Yeah, because I mean I played Witcher from the beginning, and I can tell you that the inventory system was not good at all. I mean you pick up tomes books that you read. I'm sure you've got that far. And when you're trying to read them in the menu, the text is so small, you have to stand right next to the screen in order to read it. But they've fixed issues like that now. So anyway, I've gone completely off Fallout onto The Witcher. Yeah. I'll just sum up my thoughts on Fallout. It's a massive game. The story's all right, but it's basically the same as every other Fallout game. You get out of a vault, you go to find somebody. That's basically it. And along the way, as Milky said before, you make your own story, and that's what's nice about it. Because I mean, my guy picked up loads of stuff. He made his power armor amazing. He killed ridiculous amounts of people. He didn't murder anyone though. He did not steal. He was a good person. So James,
I tried stealing once and got killed, so I haven't tried it again. I'm scared.
No, I purposely went to get that. It's the where you kill people in their sleep. Just so I could go into people's houses and kill them and take all their stuff.
I was more in Diamond City. I tried stealing, and everybody just seemed to turn up around me and shoot me to death, and then they.
So essentially, Milky, you love Fallout because it gave you a conduit for your more psychopathic urges.
Yeah, I think we can conclude I am a horrid human being. Because what I did to those people. You can't even be aired.
The one good thing with Fallout is that literally whoever you are, it gives you something. Even if you're not someone who's particularly into combat games, and you don't have to have masses and masses and masses of combat, but if you are, whatever floats your boat. Fallout can be played in so many different ways, and for some people, it's like an opening into that sort of game.
So is that all your thoughts on Fallout? Do you want to speak about Fallout anymore?
I don't really think I've got much to add on Fallout.
So just to like clarify, both me and James, as well as Milky, have got Fallout 4 in our honourable mentions for the Game of the Year 2015. So Milky, what was your other pick, or was that both of them?
Just remember.
Do you add Assassin's Creed Syndicate?
I guess. Oh, see, you know, I've bought a fair amount of games this year, and I would like to put Battlefront there, but I don't think I can.
No, you
Well,
can't. I reckon no. We should talk about Battlefront in another podcast because I want to get right into. That was such a disappointment.
If you've not seen anything about Fallout, Jack's put his opinions in a blog post. So whether you agree with them or not, they're there. But you can mention it if it's one of the games you had fun playing there.
Actually, I have another one.
Yeah, go for it.
Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse. No, just kidding.
Right, James, you got to move on to your picks then.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the most obscure one. Well, it's probably not the most obscure one, but Guitar Hero Live. You know, I got it quite soon to when it came out, and in all honesty, it adds a bit of a difference to the Guitar Hero games. You've got completely different sort of guitar there. You've got which is new, so new controls and everything is a little bit more realistic. It is harder. It's notably harder, or at least I find that. But it's improved, and the Guitar Hero TV thing, they didn't say enough about it before it came out. It is a genuinely good, different system to like the old Guitar Heroes and Rock Band, because I haven't played Rock Band, the new Rock Band, but most people I've heard who've played it say it's disappointing. It's exactly the same. Guitar Hero feels different. It feels like it's stepped up its game into the next generation. So that would be my first pick.
Okay, well, just for the benefit, because me and Milky have never played Guitar Hero Live, unless you have, Milky, and I don't know. So what my main question is, because I used to play, I had Guitar Hero, Aerosmith, all these kind of ones. I mean, what's so different about it? Because in this one, if I'm right, you've only got the guitar, haven't you? I haven't got like the drums or the mic.
Yeah, so yeah, you can use the mic with the game actually.
You can.
You can. If you don't get them, they don't do mics themselves, but if you've got a USB mic, you can plug it in and sing along to some of your favourite songs. Oh
well, that's one of my other questions. How's the set list?
So it includes songs by bands that I like. I mean, notably, you know, in the main game, Green Day are there. But away from that, in Guitar Hero TV, it's consistently updating, and you're not having to pay for the songs. So it's got like a channel that is like the popular songs at the moment. So I noticed Ed Sheeran was on there one day. I was like, what the hell's he doing on Guitar Hero? But at the same time, there's all these songs from pop to rock to anything can get on Guitar Hero TV. So the set list is always changing, and that's part of the best bit.
It sounds pretty good, but it's certainly not something I would buy for its starting price.
It's gone down to what, 50 quid now. Slightly frustrating that it went down like a week after it came out. So, but it's gonna be worth its money for anybody who liked the old game and wants that bit of a difference when it's consistently around the £50 mark.
So what's your next pick?
So before I do the next pick, I just want to shout out a couple of games that I don't want to go into depth that I enjoyed playing, just because on different consoles. So I've enjoyed Splatoon and Big Fest, which I played today, and I'm looking forward to playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, but I can't really put that in my mentions when I haven't put it into the Xbox. But in reality, I would have, again, it's not really a mention, but I did have fun playing Battlefront. I know you hated it, but I had fun playing it, and I wasted a fair few hours on that. But I'm kind of looking. I want to go into don't want to go into my top one. I've just had brain freeze.
Well, if you don't want to do, if you haven't got another honourable mention, then I can move on to mine if you want.
I did have another one, but I think I don't really want to go into Arkham Knight either because I think I just didn't finish it. I wanted to go for games I finished.
And also, I want to eviscerate that game on another podcast.
Want to go into Assassin's Creed and all that shit as well. I also think, you know, I don't usually play MMORPGs, but I think it deserves a bit of a mention here, so I'm going to give it. I've never really entered one. I did spend quite a few hours wasting away on the Elder Scrolls Online this year. It's not Skyrim, and it's not Oblivion, but it is a good game that, again, is consistently updated. I wouldn't buy the DLC for it, but it's also gone massively down in price, so it's worth its money. I just think the Elder Scrolls Online has got something about it that is going to bring people that have played it back to it. But the one game that really deserves a proper mention that nobody's mentioned is Rocket League. Give us hell. It was free. That was the best bit about it. It was free, and it's car football. What can you not like about car football?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with Rocket League. Yeah, definitely.
And I only had one more honourable mention other than my game of the year, and that was Everybody's Gone to Rapture, which is a walking simulator, which sounds amazing. But it is genuinely, you're just like a spirit, and you just hear things that happen there after everyone's gone, and you're like, why is everyone gone? But it actually is a brilliant game. It's brilliantly put together, and it's done well. It's a proper story. If you're going to go for a story, other than my game of the year, this has got the best story.
So, shall I move on to mine?
Move on to yours.
Okay, so, well, I've already mentioned both mine. Honourable mentions, not my game of the year. So, Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, and Fallout 4. They're obvious choices, but, like, this is about what we enjoyed most, and I put hours and hours into both of those games. I think I probably enjoyed playing Witcher more for the reasons I've already mentioned. I love fantasy books. I read loads of them, and The Witcher is basically that in game form. I love the story. I mean, there were things. There's so much to do on there. It's like incomprehensible the amount of stuff. I mean, the map. It's just everywhere you go, there is something else, like another side quest or something else they put thought into. Some of the other stuff is just filler on the map, like find this like treasure underneath the water or something like that, and you just think, no, I'm not going to bother with that. But basically, it's just a great RPG. I put, it must have been like 110 hours maybe I put into that over the course of like 3 or 4 months.
It was putting so many hours into The Witcher. Like, if they played it for more than 3 hours, they put in like 100. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's so addictive. I mean, everything, like the combat, the horses, and they've upgraded everything. I mean, like, I'd say now it's a better game than it was when it came out, because they've listened to all the fan feedback. But I don't want to get too much into this because I've already talked about it. But sorry, James, did you say something?
Did you beat it?
Yes.
That's good. That's impressive.
Yes, and the other one was Fallout 4, which we already talked about, so I don't need to go into that. So, do we want to start naming our games of the years now?
Yeah, I see no reason why not. Although, question, can I just give you one last question on The Witcher?
Right.
I like Lord of the Rings. If somebody came into it who had never played a game before, but picked up the controls fast, but who was a fan of something like Lord of the Rings, would they really fall in love with that game? Is that the game they've almost been missing?
It depends on the game. You can't. I mean, like, some people just don't like RPGs. I mean, it depends. I mean, I guess the story. Because I mean, like, for example, I got first into The Witcher 3 when I saw a trailer of it in like 2013. I hadn't played any other Witcher game before that, but seeing that trailer convinced me, because I only had an Xbox 360 then. This was in last gen. It convinced me to buy Witcher 2 on Xbox 360, the limited edition. I really like that. And The Witcher 3, I mean, it's so much bigger than that. The Witcher 2 is basically like a small sandbox, and this is just like the biggest open world. And like, to answer your question whether like every game would like it, no, I don't think they would, because it's so dense, it's so complex. I mean, like the controls, everything, that you have to learn how to do it. I mean, at the beginning, like it's like a baby in water. Like you never. It's actually quite difficult to get into it, but once you get into that, then it's fine. But I think many people won't get past the first few hours.
Yeah, it's like I said, if you played 3 hours, it seems that they've all
I'd
played.
actually probably compare it, James, to mine and yours. One of our favorite shows, Breaking Bad. Most people won't get past the first season of that because it's quite slow, and then it gets amazing.
So,
But it's
okay,
basically the same thing.
so let's move on to the games of the year.
Milky, do you want to name yours first?
Well, I've already mentioned it. I think
Everyone
everyone
announced
knows
which one it was.
probably by my comments that I was just ranting about Assassin's Creed. Football Manager is my most played game. It is by a country mile. Probably because I'm such a big football fan, and because Chelsea are shit in real life, that I can actually manage them and do still pretty shit. But regardless of that, I don't. It's not like a story game, and I think the thing that even when we're comparing games, I don't think it's really fair to say that Football Manager is like the game of the year because it's the same every year, bar a few changes. So for that reason, Fallout is my favorite game of the year. Again, just because I remember having Fallout 3, and I really enjoyed that. I thought it was like completely different at that point to what the other games that I'd played. I maybe wasn't aware of other sort of those stuff, other sort of games that were sort of done in that style. But yeah, I was anticipating this game, and it didn't let me down. Actually, I think it improved on what I had anticipated. I thought it was a big step up, and also they will have been under a considerable amount of pressure to release a game which could stand up to all that anticipation for a lot of fans, and I don't think they let anyone down.
So will you, therefore, because you haven't played many the RPG sort of Fallout style game, will you be looking at other games of a similar genre that take you into different worlds, or is Fallout unique to you?
I don't know. It's worth a shout. Like, I mean, obviously, Jack seems to bum The Witcher, so I might give that.
It does look amazing.
Honestly, Milky, I don't think that's your kind of game.
Well, there we go.
You will have to find out and see.
Yeah, I mean, I will definitely have a look and see whether there are any other sorts of games. But I think it takes a very special game. Like, I don't, as James knows, I have never played Uncharted, and the reason I've never played Uncharted is probably for a stupidly narrow-minded view that James can't seem to agree with. Because it's, I just think it's like sort of when I played Uncharted once, it felt very sort of Assassin's Creed like, which Jack is probably turning his face up right now.
Yeah, I am.
But
I think that's ridiculous.
Well, I think what he saw of it was a bit when Nathan Drake was like on drugs in the third one, essentially. When the plane crash and it's like kind of like a drug effect, because it was when I brought the PS3 down to your place a few years ago, wasn't it, that you saw Uncharted?
Yeah, and to be fair, it probably does deserve me to give it a fair go. But like, I don't tend to play that many games. I don't venture. Like, I see sort of games. I tend to go for sort of like different games to what I've got. So like at the moment, I'm looking at like No Man's Sky. You know, that is completely different to anything I've got. So I'm thinking, even if I don't like it, it's a different sort of game. GTA is very different to sort of Fallout, and Fallout is very different to Football Manager, and Football Manager is very different to, well,
FIFA.
not very different to FIFA, but.
Right, so James, are you going to move on to your game of the year?
Well, I was going to give my game of the year, as everybody knows, to the Uncharted collection, but we've got a rule that we're not giving it to remasters.
So what's your actual game of the year?
I was going to give it originally to Until Dawn anyway. But Until Dawn is I think Jack's played it too, but it's just a complete, unique experience. Like, the Telltale games are good. Don't get me wrong, the Walking Dead Telltale games are worth a play, but these are different. It's proper. It's horror at a good level as well. So it's took a genre and done it well. And I don't usually play horror games. I watch horror films, but games is no. And it's taken the whole Telltale making your choice sort of idea consistently in it. And what you do means that your story is different. And the one great thing with Until Dawn is you can bump into anyone who's ever played that game, and you can talk about it, and your endings are so different. Like, I played it, and two of the girls, one I was trying to kill for the whole way, and she survived. I don't know how, because everyone I tried to save died. Is it L or something? Stuck up pitch. But
yeah, I had a similar thing. I couldn't believe she survived. I thought I actually there's this one point in the game, spoilers, where you've got a choice to save her when she's hanging off an elevator, and I actually jumped my guy to safety, and I thought she fell to her death, but then she actually survived.
Did your guy then get killed?
Sorry?
Did your guy then get killed?
No, he survived.
Oh, because my guy in that situation, I thought she died too, and she survived. But my guy then got picked up and was hung up like dead pigs are hung up, like slaughterhouse, and then they bumped into him and towards the end. But even saying that, I'm not spoiling the game for anyone. That's a good thing with it, because if I went and played any of pretty much any of the games we mentioned, maybe with the exception of Fallout, if I play them, my end is exactly the same to your end. But with Until Dawn, my end is completely different to your end, and I'll go back to it and I'll play it again, and that's part of the important.
So will I, definitely.
Game of the year. It can't be game of the year if I'm gonna just never play it again, but I will play that again. You can move on to yours now, Jack.
Okay. So in the final part of this amazing podcast, award-winning, I think it's got to be nominated for something.
Podcast of the year 2016.
Right. So obviously, if you know me, you'll know my game of the year is Metal Gear Solid. Well, I mean, this was my most anticipated game for years. For some, it just didn't seem to ever gonna come. It didn't seem like it was ever gonna come out. And I read, because I was so excited for it, and I was so disappointed because it was supposed to come on the release day and it didn't. Amazon let me down. Royal Mail fucked me up the arse. And
Amazon there.
Yeah, and so I got so annoyed that I decided to read the spoilers on the Reddit, and I think the best part of the game is the fact that even though what I read really disappointed me in terms of the story, that I still had immense fun with the game. I think that's all. That is what Metal Gear Solid 5 is. Like all the other ones, you wouldn't say. People say, "Oh, it's like playing a movie," and you know what? There's something to that. There's something to that. And what Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain is that it's a game. It's not about the story, it's about the gameplay instead of the story. And the story it starts really well, it's not very good. And I think most hardcore fans will be disappointed with the twist at the end. I'm not going to go into it, but I was extremely disappointed in the twist at the end. I know what he was going for, and by he I mean Hideo Kojima, the creator of the games, but it just wasn't good. But basically the gameplay, everything about it, it's just all melded perfectly. You can infiltrate everywhere, open world, fantastic. That's what I have to say on it. Do you have any questions for me, James?
Well, it's just I've mainly seen you play Metal Gear Solid 4. I've never got massively into the series. But this one was open world, whereas the others were linear, right?
Yeah.
So, in comparison, do you think the open world experience is better to the previous linears of, all the previous Metal Gear Solids?
I think most the Metal Gear Solid purists would tell you that this isn't really a Metal Gear Solid game. I think linear cutscene driven story gameplay is what Metal Gear Solid is, or was, because he's not going to make another one now. But Metal Gear Solid 1, you're not going to get any better than that. And that was about mixing cutscenes with great gameplay at the time, and just that. How does it compare? You got one extreme in the other. Metal Gear Solid 5 is the opposite of what Metal Gear Solid 4 is. Metal Gear Solid 4 is cutscenes with 5 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah.
And Phantom Pain is the exact opposite of that. With a story, it's hard to keep connected with it because I was doing so many different side quests like you would find in Fallout or a game like that. That by the time I got back to the story missions, I'd forgotten what was going on. There's so much to do in the game. You've got 80 hours plus of things to do in it. and that's like a massive departure from other Metal Gear games.
Yeah, because other ones were
10, 12 hours.
I remember me and Craig watching you play it, and it was almost like I may as well just put it, at points in the game without gameplay, but I may as well at different points and put on a TV show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what Metal Gear Solid is.
That's not to say it's bad, because the series has obviously thrived. That's how it is,
But even Metal Gear Solid fans thought that there were too many cutscenes in Metal Gear Solid 4.
But the other question on it's obviously got to be that obviously there's been massive things around Konami and the creators left of Metal Gear Solid.
To work with Sony now.
Obviously, Konami still own the IP, so they can still technically make another game.
They're hiring for more. They're hiring for another one, but I really don't.
Would you invest in another game, or do you think that now that he's gone, it kind of like a death to?
I'm not like a massive Kojima loyalist. I mean, like if the new game got amazing reviews, I'd buy it.
So because I know there's some people like it's not Metal Gear Solid without him, but then his next IP might well be very much Metal Gear Solid as well.
I don't think it will be because he's wanted to stop making them for a while now.
So will you go excited if I said he's making a game and Metal Gear Solid 6 is coming out? Which one would you be more excited about?
I'd be more excited for the Kojima game he's making for Sony because you hear stories about Konami and the way they restrict things. I wouldn't be surprised if the new Metal Gear Solid was made on the lowest budget possible.
Made for mobile phones.
Well, that's what Konami do now. Mobile phone gaming.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's a game I'll go into in the next year at some point. Metal Gear Solid 5, I think.
I mean, we can have this sort of discussion in another podcast. So I imagine we're boring Milky to tears right now. He's probably just sitting there, just watching.
Milky's probably like, "Why am I talking? Why am I listening to this? I'm never going to play Metal Gear Solid."
You say that, but like one of my earliest memories of playing PlayStation was actually playing Metal Gear Solid. My brother had it, and it was his PlayStation, and I do recall. I think it was PlayStation. I just recall playing Metal Gear Solid. And there's this one scene where you're like up against the wall, and you have to get around and like break people's necks around the corner. But that's like every scene probably. So
it sounds a bit like the game Volume has kind of taken the original Metal Gear Solid and went on that, whereas Metal Gear Solid has obviously evolved into much more.
I guess he's finally figured out that he had to change with the times. The people wanted a lot more gameplay. Games are so expensive nowadays. You've got to get like your bang for your buck kind of thing. Like, I mean, I rarely play a game that I can't put at least 20 hours into.
Yeah.
Love The Order.
Yeah, obviously.
3 hours.
The exception. Just a magnificent masterpiece of a game.
Be your game of the year.
I've also had a discussion about that with James before, where I think that the game market has massively changed in the past 5 years. I think that a lot of people, or a lot of the games that come out now, are open world, like complete freedom, basically. And I think that if you are going to restrict sort of games to sort of cutscenes and sort of a strict storyline, the storyline has to be immense. There's no two ways about it.
I agree, yeah.
And so if you don't have that, then at least it being open world can sort of cover it up a bit. Like Assassin's Creed have been doing it for fucking years. Sorry, I don't want to go on to Assassin's Creed again.
But then again,
what Milky's talking about, the game he's talking about, the games that have a long linear story that are cutscene driven. I think there are only like two types of games I can name, and that's Uncharted and The Last of Us. Like James, unless you've got another one.
The Order is a good shit one at that. But no, it is true. Like with all the games you mentioned, I mean, Until Dawn's not open world, but Until Dawn is open story.
I'd probably put Until Dawn in there. Yeah.
But away from those games, he's got a point. There's sometimes you make an open world game where the story is diabolical, but the world is amazing. But then again, I also think that there's so much pressure to get it right now if you go open world. So much pressure that there wasn't before. So
I think some people go too far though. I'd say Witcher is an example of where they put too much stuff in.
Yeah. I would say No Man's Sky's got a risk of having too much or too little.
See,
So,
I was gonna come on to that actually.
that's in 2016.
Well, I think Milky, save that for another podcast where we
Save
can, like,
that for our hopes for
I actually think, on a lasting note, we should all dedicate what we think will be our game of the year next year.
Fine.
Okay,
You-
I'll start, James. This is gonna be pretty easy. Uncharted, The Thief's End.
I'm gonna go. I wanted to say Little Fat Princess on the Vita, but I'm gonna go for Uncharted again, A Thief's End.
Ooh. Ooh.
It's just gonna. It can't. If it fails, it will fail badly. But it's Naughty Dog, and it's not gonna fail for that reason.
No, I mean, they've had. We discussed this the other day, James. They've had a steady stream of success with the game series. I think there's a lot of pressure on them to release a good game. But I think that it's Naughty Dog, and I don't think they're going to let anyone down. However, I think, it's as I said the other day, I think when you've got a completely new franchise, a completely new game, I think sometimes it has more ability to sort of overwhelm everyone because it's completely new.
So are you still looking at No Man's Sky, or are you looking at something?
I'm looking at No Man's Sky and Horizon. I think either of those games, if they are done right, could be Game of the Year next year. No Man's Sky obviously has, it obviously has this big sort of, you can like search the galaxy sort of situation, loads of galaxies and travel and find planets and take them over. But again, I don't know what you can do with that planet once you have it, and there's so many unanswered questions really about the extent of the game itself. So until those are answered or until I play it, I don't know how good it's going to be. It could be total dog shite.
I think we should go into more detail with this in a different podcast named Most Anticipated Games 2016.
But you think that your Game of the Year next year, when we talk here in a year's time, will be one of those two?
Yeah.
Right.
One of those two.
Me and Jack think it will be Uncharted.
Well, I could have guessed that before.
No,
Right, so this has been the end of a wonderful and probably ridiculously overlong podcast. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.